man. Back with our episode of The Crossover with your hosts, Ravi and Brian. Today we're going to talk Clippers collapse, and of course we're going to discuss about the conference finals, man. So Ravi, man, what you say to the people?
Hey, man, I think the theme for this week's podcast is the more things change, the more they stay the same. Oh. Same old Clippers and LeBron heading back to the finals.
For real, man. The same old song, Digital Underground guy.
Hey.
So
some of you young viewers don't know about that.
No, they don't know what the DU guy. That's not what Tupac was before he was thugging out in this case here, but we'll leave it that for now. Oak Town. There you go.
Ties it nicely.
Exactly. So Clippers lose just an unbelievable Game 7. When we spoke last week, we pretty much thought they were pretty much going to go through. We probably were going to...
I had Houston picked there. I gave them like a percentage point over Clippers that Game 7.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I think when we recorded, yeah, that's right. When we recorded, you had Houston, I had the Clippers. That's right. And yeah, we recorded late, so we actually recorded, Saturday again, like today. We're recording this on Saturday, folks, by the way. So at the time, the game hadn't started yet. Obviously, it was a Sunday game, and I think we were both surprised that we were even here at Game 7. This team, I don't know, the flaws are so enormous, man. Let's just go. I'm going straight to the top. I mean, Doc has to take some. I know it's all the players, but it's also done to some extent. But like, Doc's got to take a L on this big time, man. I mean, never mind the GM part of it, which is a whole other discussion about what type of team he had, how thin it was. But when I look at how he managed the team in the minutes for this team, I mean, Game 7, you're on the ropes in this case here. I mean, you got to play. If you're playing these guys so much, then Game 7 is the day you're going to give a whole heap of rest at this point. That's why you get Chris Paul sitting out there for an eternity on the bench. I found that his use like at some point you got to pull the plug on Reddit. I mean, like he wasn't giving you anything defensively, and if he's not scoring, what's the sense of him being out there? He was just bricking shot after shot and turning the ball all over the place. He alone should have been pulled.
Exactly.
Short leash in Game 7, man.
Yeah, I mean, you can't afford to be tinkering with stuff in Game 7. You already run the starters down to the ground throughout the playoffs because your bench is so weak. You focus more on the coaching side. I'm really looking at the GM aspect of it because everyone knows the bench is so thin in LA with that Clipper team. And I mean, aside from Jamal Crawford, there's really not much reliable offense, off that bench. I mean, Big Baby's not really doing much, off the bench there. And I mean, Doc has made a lot of questionable moves. He got rid of
Dudley.
He got rid of Dudley. They brought in Spencer Hawes, who that didn't turn out the way I think they were hoping it would have. And Jordan Farmar is another guy that he was playing. He was playing relatively well for the time he was there. They released him. They started to pay him. And then you bring in Austin Rivers, who's had maybe 2 good games in the playoffs.
Yeah,
so
honestly, I'm not even killing.
I think from a coaching aspect, from a GM aspect, I put a lot of this blame on Doc Rivers. I don't think you can say much about Blake Griffin. I think in our playoff preview, I think we were both wrong because we both identified a couple of guys that we thought would have be like the breakout stars. Mm-hmm. I think you picked DeRozan, I had Jeff Teague.
Yeah.
We gotta see how that's working out right now.
Yeah, we'll get to him in a second.
But I think Blake Griffin by and far has been the breakout guy of these playoffs.
Well, I didn't pick Blake because I felt that last year he broke out a bit already, so it's Blake, But to your point, I think people didn't realize how much breath he had to his game. So I think that's where to your point, the breakout comes into effect. Everyone knows Blake, but just I think a lot of people still had stereotype. He just dunks. Where for quite a few years now, his game has evolved from that a long time ago. So I'm just glad to see that happen. But my goodness, man. I mean, I'll transition to the players in this case, man. Oh, one more thing about Doc. You love this. So he has the press conference after Game 7. And he's there on the podium crying about how, he came into a tough situation. What tough situation he come into? As I told you last week, I think we discussed this. He arguably has a top 5 player at the center. And hey, the all defensive team, you gotta prove this in this game. A top 5 player at center, arguably a top 5 point guard for sure, top 5 power forward for sure, a top 5 6 man, if not the best in the league. How is it you came in this great tough situation when Vinny Del Negro, whoever wants to go, and just ripped into, won 55, 56 games the year before? He's done nothing different with this team.
That's exactly correct. I totally agree with that point 100%. I mean, you came into a handmade situation. It's much like, to me, I kind of liken it to a lesser extent to when Phil Jackson came in and took over for Doug Collins.
Right.
I mean, that team was on the brink. They were on the cusp, and Phil just took them over that hump. And,
to some extent, but I think this team was more ready at their time than what Chicago was then.
Yeah, no, Chicago did go through another
a couple more years, right? Because
but that's to a lesser extent. But I mean, this team was there. This team was on the brink. Right. I mean, you got let's say, top 3 guys there, defensive, offensive guys in the league, and just overall players, and you still can get the job done. So I agree with you. It's like, stop trying to make it seem like you were given scraps to work with.
Right. Let's just get off of that, man. I mean, I think Frank Isola ripped him a new one the other day, which is we should have. Because everyone loves Doc and the media loves Doc and things like that. But when it's all said and done, you had a team that was 56 wins when Vinny Del Negro was there. And I mean, fair enough, whatever you want to say about Vinny, his style, he got him to 56 wins. You come in there, you've done really not much anything different, and you haven't gotten any further.
No,
so I'm like,
not at all. And I mean, I don't know. The way Doc manipulated his way out of Boston into the Clippers, that still doesn't sit well with me. So.
Fair enough. I mean, hey man, you do what you gotta do. I don't lose no sleep. He won't be the first, nor he will be the last. But my thing is, Phil, for example, has done a few in his time as well too. Just use an example. Phil's found a way to work his way out of a few situations. so there's plenty of things that happen with top coaches and top management guys. They do that type of stuff, sadly, all the time. Could it be cleaner? Sure. But, I just think that why watch with the Clippers? And let me move the players quickly just to wrap this up. Players got to take the hit when it's all said and done the biggest. Because when it's all said and done, you're on the court, you make the decisions, you have the greatest impact. And what I've seen from these dudes, man, something's not right, man. Something's not right with this chemistry, man.
Well, I mean, we touched on it offline quickly, and we'll probably get into this, in another show. But apparently there were somewhat off-court issues with Paul and Jordan in the locker room throughout the season that came to light after they got eliminated. So who knows how much of a factor that was in the overall team chemistry.
True. All right, man. Let's move over and switch topics down to the conference playoffs. I'll start with last night's game, as the King once again had to put it down on some folks again.
I'm really not looking forward to these Saturday morning podcasts. They're going to keep doing Cleveland Atlanta games on Friday night because I got to listen to this for another 15 minutes.
It was a glorious exhibition of basketball last night. The quote of Marv Albertism here. The full game, give me the full repertoire last night, guy. No doubt, it was marvelous. It was on display last night.
Well, I don't know if you saw what Barkley said after the game, man. I think one of the guys tweeted it after the game when he was leaving the media room. He said, "Last one out, take off the lights. See you guys next season." So I mean, and to be quite honest, and we talked about it last night during the game. I think if they turned off the lights, I don't think the Atlanta fans would know the difference.
Oh, thank you. I tweeted this. I think I tweeted our BBMU guys. I think about, dude, what's up with the Atlanta crowd? That's the deadest crowd I've ever seen in my life. A position in this type of position.
Man, I think Atlanta looked way more hype in the Welcome to Atlanta remix video with JD back in the day. Because that crowd just sat there. And, I mean, there was no reaction. There was
Bruce with banners.
Advantage from the crowd. It was disappointing. If I was an Atlanta Hawks player and I'm looking for that crowd to give me that slight edge over the team, not at all. And you're number one seed. And then, from the jump, from tip, there's no energy in that building. None at all. Not
I mean,
at all.
and like Atlanta's like just kind of going through thinking this is like game 42 of the regular season. Like, so let's break this down a little bit on your boy here, Jeff T, and the rest of the guys. I'm not just putting us on T. We'll start with him, but T looks like, I mean, a lot of these dudes, including T, just look wide eyed. They look like they're just deer in the headlights. They're like so done.
They're not ready for the moment.
No, they ain't ready. They ain't ready.
They're not ready for the moment.
Dude's hesitating.
I mean, it's weird. It's weird. I was reading this book this week, and it was talking about people that are actually afraid of success. And that's, I mean, when I looked at that game last night, to me, that's what it looked like. Like, they look like they're actually afraid of winning, afraid of having success. Like they don't think they're supposed to beat this team. Yeah. And that's how they look the first two games.
Yeah, I mean, Corver and Millsap, I said before, you can find them on milk cartons right now. Because like you can't find them anywhere right now. I mean, I think I went through the entire game till Corver got hurt. I don't think I heard Corver's name for about a good quarter and a half. Yeah. Till he got hurt. And like, oh, he's out there? I was like shocked he was still out there.
Exactly.
I mean, it's just brutal, man. I mean, Horford's coming to play, but he really doesn't have much help. You're not getting the ball enough probably as well too. I mean, Schroeder's doing his thing. He's taking every shot he can find. So so be it. I mean, and the rest of the bench. I mean, Bazemore is just out of his depth on this, man.
Yeah. I mean, I
can't really put that on.
They're trying to push LeBron.
Yeah, he's pushing LeBron.
I mean, come on, man.
Yeah.
Like, you're not gonna intimidate a guy like LeBron at this point.
And Cleveland just dissecting these dudes, man. I mean, LeBron was like a surgeon last night. I mean. And the point the guys made after the game was so true. Like, I mean, I think Shaq, hey, give Shaq credit. He made a great point last night. Sometimes, a lot of times he really doesn't make a lot of great points, but this was really a great one. LeBron wasn't even looking to make a move yet for some of these things. They're running to do double teams.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, that's a pet peeve of mine, period. And I don't know, I'm not saying I'm in the school of Pat Riley. You play man up all the time, but like, I don't know where people got this habit. I mean, how many times I mentioned you'll watch, just take the Raptors, for example, because we watch a lot of their games. Say the Raptors will double team a guy, in this case here, that has no post ability. Like, if DeAndre Jordan gets the ball on the box, knock yourself out. Have at it, Haas. Enjoy it, DJ. If you can post up the score on my man, more power to you. Do it a couple times, and then I might bring a double. Prove it to me first. These guys just run doubling. Now, we know LeBron can score in the post. Fair enough. But at least let him try to make a move first. He's holding the ball. They're running over like dude.
Exactly. I mean, you let the shooters start getting into rhythm, and you see what happens.
Yep.
You see what happens. I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, LeBron was just absolute precision last night. Not even last night. The first two games of the series. Picking this team apart.
Yeah.
And I think if you're Atlanta, I mean, not only do you drop the first two games at home, you're going back to Cleveland now for the next two. But they beat you without Kyrie Irving, and they beat you bad without Kyrie Irving.
Well, what does it say for the lack of respect they have for Atlanta? They said that we won't dress Irving for the game.
He did. That's exactly
what does that say? What does that say? Conference final. Have you ever seen that before? A top player that potentially could go just as decided, you know what, we'll just sit you.
Yeah.
That's unreal.
Then I think, it's more of a mental thing with Atlanta at this point, man. I mean, the Cavs are just beating them on the court. They're thinking about it today. The next game is, I think, tomorrow or Monday. They're going to be thinking about it till then. And Cleveland, I mean, it's I want to give them a gentleman's sweep in this series.
I think they'll win one.
Spot Atlanta one game.
I think they'll win one. They'll gotta win one, guys. Someone's gonna go off for Atlanta. But if Corver's ankle's all swollen like it is, then the authentic sweep might be in play.
Yeah, it's shocking. It's absolutely shocking what they've done to Atlanta the first couple of games, especially last night without Kyrie.
Oh, that was not a pretty sight, man. Oh boy. Let's get to the West, which oh my gosh. I never watched a series where I think two games where I thought the other team really should be up 2-0. Like this. Maybe the last time I saw that possibly was maybe Phoenix Chicago. Where there's a couple of games where Phoenix should have won the game and Chicago ended up winning. And ended up flipping the series around 3-2 when they went back to Phoenix. Not the first game. I remember Chicago dealt with it, but I think game 2 and 3, where I thought Phoenix was actually the better team, but when it's all said and done, the W's, I think one of the W's came back in their favor. I think they won game 3, and I think they lost game 2, obviously. That's a similar thing.
They won game 3, and then they won game 5 to take it back to Phoenix.
Right.
Yeah,
game 4, I thought they should have.
Right.
I thought they should have won game 4. I think that was a really close game too. I think they let Chicago off the hook on that one, if I recall.
I think that's the one where Jordan exploded for like 54 or 55 in that game.
Yeah.
Game 3 was a triple overtime game.
Right. Game 3 was a triple overtime game. And game 2 was one they let slide away in the game as well too. But just where you see games where it's just like a couple plays here and there, and the series can be so much different. And it's like Houston, man, had it right there on the platter a couple times, man. Yeah,
I mean they fought. They were down 17 last game, and they fought back. They were right there. And it is very, it's very ironic because when you think of Golden State, you think of them as this offensive juggernaut, but their defense won that last game. So, I like the way they they doubled up on Harden, caused him to fumble the ball, and I'm glad they didn't call a foul on that last play.
Yeah, no, there's no foul on that. I just don't understand why Harden gave up the ball to Howard. It seemed a bit of a panic moment. I don't want to put the game on and say, oh, he lost the game, because he kept it in the game. And to your irony point, they're the metrics gurus, Houston. They want dunks and threes. What's been the most effective shot in the series for them for the most part?
Exactly.
Is Harden mid-range pull-up. That's what's been keeping them and getting them back in games. That's the irony of it. That's what's got them back in the games. And they're actually trying to stop them from getting into that area again. So, Houston, and they're going to win one game in Houston. I can't not see them not winning one game.
You know what? They're in the same position as Atlanta, but like I look at Houston differently than I look at Atlanta.
Oh, Houston's showing heart, man. Like Atlanta's showing heart.
Exactly. They're fighting. They're right there. So I definitely. I would be totally shocked if Golden State went in and took 2 games in Houston. I think they're going to take one back. And I had the series going 5 games.
Yeah.
At best. So I think that's what it'll go. I'm going to stick to that.
I still Warriors in 6, but. I think it's gonna get to 6, man. I think some way, somehow, the games have been too close for it not to be the 6. And like Golden State's playing well, but not. Can they play another level? Possibly, but
I think so. I think they have a tendency when they get up big, they start getting a little too cute, and that comes back to bite them late in the games.
Well, we'll see, man. So we'll wrap it up there. I know we'll discuss. I don't know. We've got time here. You want to talk All NBA, so I'll give you a couple minutes. All NBA, man. What do you have to say about it, man?
So All NBA, I don't think it was a big surprise. You have Curry and Harden in the backcourt. You got LeBron and Gasol up front. Mark Gasol, that is, people. And then you have Anthony Davis at the center. I think Pau Gasol was on the second team, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he was on there too. Yeah, I didn't see really anything that jumped out at me.
Yeah, no arguments there, no surprises there. I think those pretty much what most people expected.
Yeah, I think John Wall is kind of a possibility, maybe as a third team, where he could have knocked off someone else. He's probably the one guy maybe, I guess Washington fans got a gripe about. I don't really see anybody else really kind of jumps up and says, oh, geez, how could that guy not be on the team? Anybody else? I think you pretty much got everybody you need. I said before, Wall could replace one of the point guards potentially, but besides that, I didn't see anything that really jumped out at me.
Yeah, not at all. I think, like I said, it's what we expected.
Yeah, exactly. So there you have it, folks. The awards season's pretty much come to an end now. We have, getting close to the end of the playoffs. The finals come in June 4th, I believe. And at this rate, we might have our finals by about Wednesday at this point. At this rate, so we'll see. Who knows? I've been burned before by making these proclamations, and all of a sudden, things have a way of changing. So we'll see. Hopefully, we get some compelling series. But until then, folks, where can the good folks find you, Ravi?
At Mr. Ravi _Porvita.
And you can find me at Beyond Locker Room, short form RM. And we had to have some technical difficulties last few weeks, so I'm working on it. So that's why you've had no intro lately. So we'll see you soon, and we'll talk to you next week. Peace.